welcome. It's our March 22nd Campus Community Forum. We are both on Zoom meeting and also on YouTube. So if somewhere along the way you need to switch modalities, help yourself. But we're happy to see you. Happy to see you. All righty. So we have done these webinars in webinar form for Zoom, but we're actually in Zoom meetings. So if you want to turn your cameras on so people can see you and you can see them, or you can keep them off, it's really up to you to decide how you want to do your day today. We won't predict that for you, but it's really up to you to decide how you want to do that. We were fortunate enough to host the Real College California conference in February and found out that for not very much money, we could upgrade to meeting and have more folks in meetings together rather than just having a panel of faces and the rest of y'all hoping to see everybody. So we're happy to have you be on camera, off camera, however you're most comfortable. So welcome to our Campus Community Forum today. For those of you that are new to our forum, hello, my name is Pam Luster, and I am the proud president of San Diego Mesa College and your host and moderator for the afternoon. And just excited to see you all. And I'm also acting as Lorenz Legaspi today, so I will be giving the update from Administrative Services in just a few minutes as well. So in terms of updates, as you all know, we are getting used to having more of us on campus again. If you're on campus today, it is stunningly beautiful on the Mesa campus today. The weather is gorgeous. There are lots of birds out. I had one fly very close to my head as I came up to the office in the president's office today, flew right in underneath that little, what I like to call the Star Trek symbol at the front of campus. And so it's just absolutely beautiful. And for those of you who were out and about, wonderful to see Waverly Ray out with her students and the new seed library that has now been launched on campus. And excited to see those things happening physically on our campus now as well. So welcome back to everyone who is on our campus, and to those of you still working remotely. We hope to see you on campus again soon. So that's the first thing that I wanted to cover just in terms of my update today. As you all know, that the information has gone out in terms of the remote work policy that came out from Vice Chancellor Smith's office. And the Mesa approach to that is going to be that we are currently accepting the forms into the system from folks that want to apply for either the ad hoc or remote work status. Recall that you need to meet with your supervisor and get agreement on how you are going to do that, because especially for departments where there's very few folks, the expectation is that our offices are still open. There isn't an expectation that offices will go remote. We're just giving flexibility for folks to work from home where they can and where it makes sense for their position. So we wanted to give some time for that to happen. And so we will be reviewing those as they come in, but very important to talk to your supervisors. And so we will continue to do that. We are still talking with Vice Chancellor Smith about how faculty will turn those forms in. And my understanding is for classroom faculty that currently have their primary assignments in the classroom, that the forms will not be submitted until the fall semester, but I will await his formal in writing update of that. If you are a faculty member with a non-classroom assignment and you're hoping to do some sort of remote work, then you would need to submit the form, because that is the way that we get to those decisions. So we're doing our best to figure out all these new things to us, trying to provide folks flexibility, but also making sure that we're available to our students and each other as they need us on campus or whatever that looks like. But I know as the leading college of equity and excellence, we will figure all those things out. and that people will really think about both the students that we serve and then the relationships we have with each other. I love seeing pictures of, the faculty together in buildings. I've seen a few science faculty pictures that are pretty fun, and just enjoying seeing people reuniting on campus. We've also been doing some filming on campus the last few days. Thank you to the faculty who have given us access to classrooms, and also did a little bit of filming. As you know, as I move towards my retirement in June, we are fundraising for the Resiliency Fund. We are trying to endow that fund so that each year there's automatic money that is available to the campus through the stand to help students with their emergency expenses. We don't want to be dependent on the state or federal government to do it sort of ad hoc, if you will. We hope that the college will be able to do that. So did a little bit of filming on that so we can go out and talk to the folks that have been supportive over the last many years of Mesa and see if they're willing to give a gift of personal significance. So that's what, if you see some video cameras out on campus, that's what we're up to. So with that, I am going to jump into Lorenz's piece of this today. And he really just had one update, which is, many of you know, when we went away from campus in March of 2020, we started to do equipment loans. So there are chairs and different kinds of equipment that people borrowed and took home. And so you'll be getting a memo from the Office of Administrative Services that it's time to bring those items back. We have to inventory them, bring them back to campus. And so it's really important that, that we do that. That's college property. And so we just have to be very careful that we bring it back. And I imagine that some of it, the newer things, will be dispersed across campus to be used, of course, here. But just to let you know, that's coming your way soon. You also may know that when you read the information about remote work, that the remote work was approved based on your ability to use what you have in your home to work from home, and that district equipment would not be checked out in order for people to be supported to work at home. I am simply the messenger on this message. I just want to make that clear. It feels counterintuitive to me, but that is the way we're rolling. So just wanted to let you know that those two messages are ones that we need to adhere to and think about. So just know that those things are coming your way. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Dr. Isabel O'Connor for an update from her area. Isabel.
Well, thank you very much. Muchas gracias. Hi, everybody. A quick update. So on a few things, all of them good. So we are looking forward to spring break. Actually, I'm going to a conference, but for many people will be spring break. So I hope everyone has a chance to take a little breather and relax. When we come back, obviously, we're starting the second 8-week classes and we're monitoring those. I'm very happy to report that we are down to a handful of so enrolled classes. So I'll be discussing that with deans and chairs, but overall it looks very strong. I'm also really happy to report that we've been working with the bookstore in order to make sure that the book orders are turned in for all our classes as the law requires, and they are turned in on time. This semester we are in, we had so many changes that it was a bit challenging for the bookstore to get all the changes, and so we all need to do better and communicate better. And it was a great conversation, and I think it will help us moving forward. Another great conversation we had was this morning at Dean's Council. We submitted a proposal to the state to do some enrollment management work. And we all love to talk about enrollment management, but it is a very big topic. And I always say, let's focus on something. Let's make sure it's doable and what are the deliverables. So one of the things we asked Cynthia Rico and Guillermo Marujo to come to our Dean's Council is to really look more closely at coordination beyond one's department and one's school. And last week I proposed that we look at how we schedule the Golden Four. in what modalities, the basic GE. Well, Dean Pearl Lee corrected me and said it should be the Platinum 5 because we're adding, of course, and we're all very happy about that, Chicano studies, Black studies, and Asian studies. So ethnic studies to that golden 4, which is now Platinum, just like my hair, 5. So we had a really great conversation as to how to focus that discussion in terms of coordination and to remove scheduling conflicts. In some areas, this is more challenging than others, particularly in the math and science. The labs are long, and if you make them compressed, it'll be like 10 hours a day. So I am going to put together a group of chairs and deans to start just focusing on this one area. Let's see how we do. Let's see how we can be proactive, and then we'll expand that work to other areas as well. The last part I have to say is Friday was a phenomenal day because we had the figs shindig, the launching of the spring figs. And as usual, it was a great event that always sparks a lot of creativity. I kept thinking and suggesting things that we could even take this further. But let me just share with you briefly where our faculty are doing the investigation into their figs, the faculty inquiry groups that are self-generated and equity infused. So one is work experience remodel. Another one is exploring effective and engaging content facilitation in Biology 210A. Another one is also assessment alternatives in math. The fourth one is the case and design for asynchronous learning, online learning. And the last one is equitable spotlight on, I love that title, computer scientists. So I look forward to the end of the semester when the faculty will be also sharing what they have learned and how they're going to do some course remodel and best practices. And one more thing that will be coming out from me soon is an announcement about our second Curriculum Equity and Excellence Review Institute, which will happen in a much more extended way in the summer. I don't want to spoil all the excitement, but it's coming up and I am certainly excited about the planning and the outcomes. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel. Dr. Hans.
I'm going to unmute first. I'm going to share my screen. Lorenz would have been so proud because he was doing the presentations, and so I wanted to join him in that. But here we go. So I'm here and happy to presenting to each of you on behalf of Student Services. So one of the first things that I want to share with you is that this week, Tuesday through Friday, we are distributing free COVID-19 rapid tests to our entire campus community. So faculty, staff, students, administrators, come on over to the 4th floor, our information desk, and you will be able to pick up 2 kits. That's a total of 4 tests so that you can test yourself for COVID. And we really are doing this at this time because we want individuals to test themselves before they come back to campus after spring break. So we're encouraging people to test on that Friday and test again on that Monday. So please swing by. There are tests for everyone, and we are happy to make these available to you. Also want to let you all know that today we are closing our application for HERF emergency relief funding. And so I want to let you know that before we opened up this campaign, that we had automatically awarded 5,649 MESA students who were either have a Pell Grant or CCPG. And so again, each of those students received $1,200. And then we opened up this campaign for all students who fell outside of that. And so all students would have received an email if they're eligible from the district telling them exactly how to sign up to be able to receive funds. So please encourage students to apply, and we will continue to do monthly campaigns until we've expended all of our direct student aid. We also want to share that last week we were able to do a booster clinic on campus. And I believe we got the numbers. I want to say it was somewhere about 70 individuals received their booster shots that day. So we were very excited about that. But then also we were encouraging students to get their boosters and to upload their updated vaccination cards into the system. And so we want to remind students that if they upload their vaccination cards into the system by April 1st, that they'll be entered into an opportunity drawing and will be given away thousands of dollars for students to encourage them to get boosted. So please encourage students to upload their information. We also wanted to share that we're still doing our farmers and mobile markets on campus. And so for the past 2 years, we've been doing the mobile in our parking structure, but we are happy that we were able to host our first in-person not mobile, but in-person food market. So for the remainder of the semester, we're going to be providing 2 options. On the first Monday, people will be able to come to the quad and participate. And my goodness, I hope I'm not mixing up the dates again. But on the first Monday, people will be able to come to the quad and participate in our market. And then we will still be doing one out of our parking structure that's mobile. So students will have multiple options, and we encourage people to participate. And we'll make sure that that's accurate information, but just check your emails because we send those out every time because it's a great opportunity to volunteer and to send students or yourself over. Next, want to remind you that transfer email updates are sent every Tuesday, and there's a lot of good information in there. 3 that we want to highlight is that the FAFSA and DREAM Act deadline was extended to April 1st, which is very important. We know that there are many students who were not certain if they were going to go to certain schools, if they were going to be transferring, what they were going to do. The deadline has been extended, so please encourage students to apply. There's also a transcript fee support that is provided through our transfer center. And so we know that sometimes students are experiencing challenges paying for their transcripts to be sent to schools. We will reimburse students and support with that. And then also we wanted to remind people about AB 1313, which states that we cannot prevent students from having access to their transcripts during this process. So if students are struggling, if they are hitting roadblocks in this area, please encourage them to meet with our transfer center. And then finally, we offer transfer talks daily. So people are often in various stages of the transfer process, and we want to make sure that they know that there's support for them no matter which stage they're in, if they're actively in the transfer process, if they're thinking about transferring, and so they can stop in, ask questions, get all the information that they need. So please encourage students to do that. Just beneath that, you'll see something that says orientation. I know Pam was talking about a lot of the videotaping and recording that's been taking place on campus. You've also probably seen our team and students out there because we're updating our orientation, our online orientation program for students. And because we have so many amazing buildings on campus, this was a great time to show off our new spaces so that students who are orienting themselves to our campus really get the full effect. And it's an opportunity for us to elevate student voices. And so we are so excited about this project and what the finished outcome will be, because we have no doubt that it will excite students about being a part of the Mesa College community. We also want to let you all know that we are looking for commencement speakers, and applications must be submitted by Thursday, April 7th. April 7th. And so what we want you all to do is, if you know that a student is going to be transferring, participating in our graduation process, getting their AA and their AS, please encourage them to tell and share their story and consider being a commencement speaker. We often know that many students who end up getting this honored position were encouraged to participate. Someone told them, you've got a great story to tell, and so we want you to personally encourage students to apply to be our commencement speaker. So that information has been emailed out to the community. And if you have any questions, you can certainly connect with Vicki Miller. A couple of dates that we want to put out there. We want to make sure that you save the date for our scholarship ceremony. That's going to be on Thursday, April 28th. The program starts at 5:30 p.m., but we will be encouraging everyone to be there at 4:30. And that's going to be in our gym. Jumpstart, which is kind of our open house for the entire community. So prospective students, families, everyone is welcome. And this is when we can show off what we do and who we are. And so we have sent mailers out to the campus community. So people are going to start RSVPing for this event. And then there's also an opportunity for departments and programs to participate as well. So please check your email if you want to know more information and or if you want to invite people to participate in this event. And commencement, we are so excited because it is going to be here on campus in person. That's going to be Friday, May 27th at 4 o'clock on our field. So save the date, plan to be there. We are excited for all of these events. Finally, I want to share a little bit of information about a partnership that we're doing with R&D Consulting. It's Deanna Cherry, Rick Vidal. You all had the opportunity to meet them not too long ago at one of our campus community forums. There's two parts to this probably 2-year partnership that we'll end up having a 1-year partnership that will span between this semester and next fall. The two parts are, one, we're going to be doing focus groups to really be able to hear from our students, in particular our Black and Latinx students, about their experience, and we want their voices to be elevated so that they can help us navigate our transition out of the pandemic and to make sure that we're doing it with an equity-centric lens. And so we are going to be hosting student forums starting in April so that we can make sure we bring those voices who are not often represented in a lot of the surveys, in a lot of our numbers. And so we want to make sure that we are being very mindful. Another part about this partnership is the development of leadership teams. And so we are going to develop a leadership team that will have anywhere between 10 to 20 individuals from across campus, from all different levels. And we hope to be sending out an email inviting you to participate or to submit a letter of interest to participate in this process. And being a part of the team means that you'll receive an orientation, there'll be a mini retreat, there'll be listening sessions, so an opportunity for this team to actually sit and listen to our students, for inviting other people in. And what we're going to be doing is grappling with many of the tough and challenging decisions and having courageous conversations about the things that are really impacting us right now in terms of remote or on campus, teaching online or having hybrid courses or teaching in person. And some of these difficult questions that we're having about how we move forward, we want to have someone help facilitate and guide those conversations so we can make sure we're doing those things with an equity lens. So for me, I kind of see this as us being able to move from equity talk, which is what we have been doing and building up a language and ways that we can have these conversations, to equity walk, where we can actually see this and work it out in action. So if you are interested in participating, please keep an eye open for that invitation. And because we really want to come up with a great team that will help us model the way. And we're going to tie all of this into Mesa 2030. So it's going to be amazing. There's so much to tell about student services. And as I always say, I cannot get it in a brief update, but our monthly updates will be coming out soon. So if you want to know what each and every department in student services is doing, check for the monthly updates. And now for our special presentation. Oh, get ready, Vicki. I'm going to turn it over to Dean Miller, who is going to let you know what our special presentation is going to be about. I'm just going to give you a little hint. It's the San Diego Mesa College Promise Program. So Vicki, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ashanti. I love that, the flashing neon light, the San Diego Promises, which what we see as well, we think it is a flashing light for the success of our students. Thank you all for joining us today as we do talk about the San Diego community, the Promise Program for San Diego Mesa College. This is a program that was implemented back in 2016. The intent of the program was to support our students financially with their first 2 years of their educational experience by providing them tuition support as well as book voucher support. But today we are going to share with you with data and student testimonials that it has exceeded far beyond financial support. Our students that have participated in the program have connected with one another, they have bonded, and they have celebrated and grown together. And the program is very intentional with the types of services and support programs that we provide our students. It is far beyond, the financial component is huge, but never did we know it was going to be so powerful for a student's experience here at Mesa College. And so I am so thrilled that we have the opportunity to share everything promised with you today. And Karla Trutna is the one who has led this effort. And it is under her leadership that it has really elevated to the type of program and the type of cohort and support that it has become. So I'm going to pass it over to Karla, and she will share everything promised with you, and you will hear and experience it as well. So take it away, Karla.
Thank you so much, Dean Miller. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Karla Trutna, and I serve as the Outreach and the San Diego Promise Program Coordinator. We have a great team joining us today. We have Jaime Seiverd from Research and Planning from our SCCD Office of Institutional Effectiveness and Research. We also have Donnaly Atajar from the outreach team here at Mesa. She serves as a student services technician. And we have our wonderful student panelists. I'm just gonna say their names really briefly. Amanda Silva-Flores, Andrew Arevalo, and Cesar Avila Jr. So welcome again. We're so happy to share all this wonderful information with you. So to begin, I wanted to share on how the San Diego Promise program began. So under the leadership of Chancellor Carroll, the San Diego Community College District was among the first in California to launch a Promise program. It actually began as a very small pilot with a cohort of 186 students in 2016. And in just a short span of time, the program just grew. So in October of 2017, Governor Brown actually signed Assembly Bill 19, which provided free tuition for full-time students for their first year in California's community college system. This infusion of support from the state and the generosity of donors enabled our district to extend funding to students in their second year. And then more wonderful news. In 2019, Assembly Bill 2 expanded state funding to support first-time full-time students in their second year, enabling our district to consider expanding funding to other groups who may benefit from the free tuition and student services provided by the San Diego Promise program. The program in itself does wonderful things for our students. As Dean Miller shared, it does provide tuition-free education up to 2 years and additional benefits for first-time full-time students at San Diego Community Colleges District's 3 credit colleges, City College, Mesa College, and Miramar College. Eligibility: if a student is interested in applying, they must be a first-time college student. They must be a class of 2022 high school graduate, so have earned their high school diploma or GED, or they must identify with one of the following groups: foster youth student, veteran of U.S. Armed Forces, formerly incarcerated student, undocumented student. They must also be a California resident or AB 540 eligible, and they must complete a 2022-2023 financial aid application, which means just doing that FAFSA or a California DREAM Act. They must also be prepared to enroll in a minimum of 12 units per semester, and this does not apply with disability accommodations on file. And to close my section off, I just wanted to share with you briefly our why. We're all about providing access and support to develop services and programs that are value added and meaningful to our Promise students. We are all about our students first. We don't want to provide our students with additional barriers. We actually want to make it as easy as possible for them to come to Mesa, obtain their degree, and move on their academic journey. So throughout the program's involvement, we have worked with the SCCD Office of Institutional Research and Planning to collect data and student outcomes and perceptions to inform continuous program improvement efforts. To share on this great work, next, I would like to introduce to you Jaime from the SCCD Office of Institutional Effectiveness and Research.
Thank you, Karla. I appreciate that introduction. So yes, my name is Jaime. My pronouns are they, them. I'm a researcher with the district office. And I have the great honor of getting to be the Promise program researcher. So I work with the Promise team at all 4 colleges, which is fantastic. And as a former Mesa student, I have to say it's always great to be in Mesa spaces. And I'm really grateful to be here today. So thank you all for having me. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, so today I'm going to talk about 2 things. The first one's pretty quick. I'm going to give you just a quick demographic overview of our newest cohort that started with us in fall 2021. And those data will be from our institutional research database. And then I'll go ahead and segue into our new Promise Welcome Survey and those results, which tells us even more about our Promise students. So next slide, please. All right, so this year's Promise cohort across all 3 credit colleges totaled almost 1,700 students. And the largest cohort, 39%, so over a third of our Promise students are enrolled at Mesa. And so 3/4 of our students at Mesa College in the Promise program identify as students of color, and about half are Latino, Latina, Latina identifying, which is of course fantastic as a Hispanic serving institution and as a college that is leading in equity and excellence. It's of course important that we are using this kind of program to provide access to students who have traditionally faced structural barriers to accessing our services. Oh, next slide, please. I was pressing the key on my keyboard. All right, so that's my quick slide on the demographics. But you know, as I think we all know, students, there's more to our students than what we can see in the database, right? So one thing that we're trying to do now is to survey our first time in Promise students right when they get to us, not only to get more information about who they are, what programs and services they might like to see, but also because you know, it's also a great intervention tool. So I've been working with the Promise team. Our students are able to say, I would like to be contacted. I would like support. So it's a great tool. I'm really excited to see how it continues to develop. This is the first year we've sent it out. And our response rate at Mesa College was pretty fantastic. 37% of the students who were invited, which is all of Mesa's students in cohort 6, and well over a third chose to respond. So thank you to those students. And I'm excited to share with you a little bit more about what we learned about our Promise students. So next slide, please. All right, so this isn't pictured because it's a more simple graph, but I'm going to quickly go over gender. As we know, gender is somewhat limited in our database, and so we were able to ask a more comprehensive and inclusive gender question to our students. And so in alignment with kind of the general demographics, 60% of the students who responded to the survey identified as cisgender women, cisgender meaning students identifying with the sex they were assigned at birth. About 34% were cisgender men. And then I did collapse our gender nonconforming and trans students to protect identities. There was a small number, so that's about 2%. And then we had 1% of students did not respond, and 2% chose to self-identify. And then with that, the graph you're looking at on the screen, we were also able to ask our students about their orientations. You know, there's been a push from the Chancellor's office to increase support to the LGBTQ plus student community, which is fantastic. I'm a former LGBTQ plus student, so it's always wonderful to be seeing those efforts increase on our campuses. So about 2/3 of cohort 6 at Mesa College identified themselves as straight or heterosexual, but wow, almost a third identified with an LGBTQ plus identity. And I'm really glad we chose to ask this question because our database with the new application system, we do have some information on sexual orientation, but it's extremely limited. And a lot of students choose not to respond for various reasons. And so it was great to be able to get a little bit closer to what might be more representative. And with that, I'm going to selfishly segue away from Promise for just 1 second. If we could go to the next slide. So I've been given permission to let you all know we are continuing a research project that's been going on for the past 2 years. Where I am getting together with our fantastic LGBTQ plus students at all 4 colleges and just asking how things are going, what challenges, successes, et cetera, are you facing? I'm also just now starting an employee component, which is great. Those are interviews and not focus groups. But if you have any students who are interested, I believe a form has been dropped in the chat. You can also use the QR code on the screen to access an interest form. Everything's completely confidential and completely voluntary. But if you're interested in helping to inform some of our efforts for LGBTQ+ students, please feel free to contact me and ask questions. Or to use the form in the chat. So let's get back to Promise though. Thank you for letting me plug those focus groups. All right, so this is also a great, some great information that we learned about our Promise students. So you can see on this graph that well over a third, 37% of the cohort students who responded to the survey identified as first-generation students. And we also had 19% of our students are English language learners or are ESL students. And we also had 18% who are using EOPS services. And then really critically, I just wanted to point out that when you add it all up, almost 13% of our students are facing food or housing insecurity or are unsheltered. And so kind of want to applaud Dr. Hand's presentation, including those farmers markets. I know the stand is a fantastic resource that I've seen from student feedback. So those basic needs resources are really critical, especially to our Promise students. We also had 6% of Mesa's cohort is from the San Diego College of Continuing Education, which is fantastic. We have been working on that non-credit to credit transition, so it's really wonderful to see those numbers. We also had 1% who identified as formerly incarcerated. We have students who are also single parents, involved in Puente and Emoja and other programs, and we'll talk more about programs in just a minute. But if we could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So here's the programs. This isn't a perfect word cloud. It's not perfect, but I did want to just kind of give a quick little representation of some of the programs our Promise students are engaging in on campus, and that includes clubs. They were allowed, they were just free response questions, so they just let us know freehand what they were involved in. We have a lot of athletes in Promise, students on the softball team, water polo, swimming. We have students in the fashion club, the debate team, the honors program, Star Trio, Terra Mesa, which is our really awesome sustainability club. So there's our students are really engaged. And well, I also want to note that while that none might be a little big on the word cloud, meaning the student wasn't involved in anything, we're still dealing with this pandemic, folks. And a lot of the students who said none said, but I really want to be involved. So I'm really excited that we're all back on campus, and I'm really hopeful that those students will get connected to what interests them this semester. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, and Promise students, really, they have a lot of wonderful ideas and a lot of great things to say. So we also asked them for their feedback, what they'd like to see us do in Promise. So here's some suggestions for workshops that students have: time management, wellness, transfer was a big one, and I was really excited to hear about all the wonderful transfer stuff you got going on at Mesa. And then also on healthcare, navigating healthcare systems, getting connected to healthcare was also a workshop that was recommended by students. And then this was my favorite. Students had a lot of opportunities and ideas for how they could connect to each other and to Promise program staff. So they suggested things like service opportunities, getting together, serving the community, serving folks in San Diego or at the college. Also regular check-ins with Promise students and Promise staff. I loved this idea, a program dance. So getting all the Promise students together for a fun activity like that. And then field trips, just, museums or going to the beach. So Promise students are really engaged. They're really excited. and they have a lot of great ideas. So I'm excited to learn more about our Promise students as we continue this research. And really quick, before I turn it over, I just wanted to kind of reiterate what Karla was saying about the Promise why. This is the second year on a different survey where all of the students who responded said they had a good or excellent experience in Promise. There were no negative experiences of the students who responded. And when we ask why they had a positive experience, it's because of the staff. It's because of the Promise team. It's because of the Mesa community. And so I just wanted to say thank you for all of the work you're doing for our students. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Donnaly. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jaime. Again, my name is Donnaly Atajar. I am a student services technician in the outreach department, and I work primarily with the San Diego Promise program, implementing our program for our almost 1,200 Promise students here at Mesa. So, using the data that we gather throughout the cohorts, and as Jaime shared with all of that great insight, we really like to tailor our program and all of our services and our supports to meet those student needs. And as we know, especially over the last couple of years, those have changed drastically. And so we're always keeping it moving and trying to make sure we're meeting students where they are. So just to give you some details about the wraparound supports that Promise students get, the free tuition is the biggest, motivator, and that's what we're known by, of course. But a lot of times when students enroll in the Promise program, they don't realize, how much support they're going to get and all of the other fantastic benefits being part of the Promise program. So to detail some of those here, academics, we have 5 Promise counselors who are dedicated to the Promise program. Of course, students can see whichever counselor in any other programs they might be involved in on campus, but we do have 5 Promise counselors who have specific Promise times each week, which is great. They also host a workshop series every semester, and this semester they're hosting about a dozen workshops, from anything like academic success to money management, to reintegration and getting back into campus life. We also have a progress report requirement for our year 1 students, and that's just to make sure students are keeping up with their grades and knowing where to check them, how to reach out to professors if they're struggling, where to get support if they want to do better in their classes. And then last but not least, under academics, appeal support. So to maintain eligibility in the Promise program, students have to have a 2.0 cumulative GPA, have 12 units per fall and spring semester, see a counselor each semester, and also attend a campus engagement requirement. Now, we get it. It sounds like a lot, but we're here to support students. If they're not able to meet their requirements, we do everything we can to meet them where they are and keep them eligible for the program. So we do support the students in their appeal process. Mentorship wise, one of the requirements for entering the Promise program is attending our fantastic summer cruise program led by our peer navigators. So students come on campus, usually when there's not a pandemic, for a 2-day orientation. They've done it virtually, which was also great, throughout the last couple of years. And through Summer Cruise, they get assigned their peer navigator who is there to mentor them through their first year here at Mesa. They also get the support of our outreach ambassadors and our Promise team. We also love collaboration throughout Mesa's other departments and programs. We have collaborated with Emoja and the Black Faculty Counseling Collaborative to provide increased support to our Black Promise students. EOPS has a huge presence at our Promise orientations. They are with us at every single Promise orientation, making sure students apply for EOPS if they're eligible. In the past, we have taken Promise students on really comprehensive tours of the LRC and the MT2C so that students are aware of all those resources, especially tutoring. We collaborated with Transfer and Career to offer workshops that are tailored to Promise students' interests and goals. And then last but not least, the funding piece. So as part of the Promise, students do get that 2 years of free tuition and a book grant for eligible students. And in the last couple of years, we have had the privilege to offer extra types of funding. Just recently, we offered 160 emergency grants to students in the form of, in the amount of $250. We gave away 70 laptops that students were able to keep, which we know is key, especially for remote learning. And then school supplies. We gave out hundreds and hundreds of bags of school supplies at the beginning of last semester and this semester. So we are so happy to be able to support them in additional ways. Now, as I mentioned earlier, one of the requirements for Promise students to remain eligible is to attend a campus activity. Of course, we want students to succeed in all of their academic goals, but we also want them to get engaged on campus, find that sense of belonging, and we give them ample opportunities to really find their people, figure out what they're interested in, and so much more. So we do have celebrations each semester, both big and small. We do have our fall and spring semester kickoff events where we set goals together. We celebrate, any types of milestones, whether it was passing a class or getting enough credits to transfer. We have our end of the year celebration where we recognize students for all of their accomplishments throughout the Promise program. And of course, graduation. We love when our Promise students, of course, graduate and, transfer on or are able to secure a career. Community. So the second part there, we want students to be able to find their people here, especially after 2 years of being off campus. We are so excited to be able to form community in the style of coffee hours. So we have monthly coffee hours. These were online for the duration of remote learning. And now we're excited to get back to our in-person coffee hours for students to socialize with each other, get to know one another, all while getting their Promise program updates. We've had time management workshops in the past where we provided free passion planners. This is actually one of our most popular workshops. The last time we administered this virtually, we had over 175 students with us at the online workshop. We do study halls during midterms and finals for students to just come together and know that we're all in it together. They're all getting ready for their exams, writing their papers, all of that. And virtually as well as in person, those are so well attended because it really helps to just know that there's students all in the same boat. And then self-care, that is such a huge deal for our students right now, minding their mental health. We recently held a self-care and succulents workshop where we talked about different self-care strategies, and then students came to campus and were able to pot their own succulents and bring those home with them. Communication. So students are getting their information in a number of different ways. We want to make sure we're reaching them however they are checking for information. So they receive direct emails, phone calls, and text messages. We do have an email newsletter that goes out every single week with Promise updates and also Mesa College updates. We are on Instagram and Twitter. And of course, we also have a Canvas page. A lot of students are already on Canvas, so we want to be there too. So there's multiple ways that students can stay up to date on everything that's happening with the program and things happening all across Mesa College. And then last but not least, we want to plug in all of these Promise students to all of the amazing work that's already happening across campus. A lot of the events, that are happening are well attended by Promise students. Just a few listed here. We had so many Promise students at reorientation and Club Rush. They attended the scholarship workshops. A lot of our students are in EOPS, and they'll also attend the career and transfer workshops. The farmers markets mentioned earlier are really popular with Promise students. Also, the financial literacy speaker series is hugely popular among Promise students, and the game nights, both the game nights hosted by our peer navigators and by Student Health Services. So those are also really popular. So, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. There's so many things happening on campus. So we also try to steer students towards all of those different opportunities. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we do have 1,200 Promise students currently here at Mesa, and it's always fantastic to hear directly from our students. So we have the privilege of having a student panel today with 3 of our Promise students. So you'll get to hear about their experience in the program, but also at Mesa College in general. So we're going to have them introduce themselves in just a moment, and also just share some of their experience with you. So I will go ahead and introduce our 3 Promise student panelists here and ask them a couple questions, and you will get a glimpse into what life is like as a Promise student here at Mesa. So To our student panelists, if you could please introduce yourself, share a little bit about your background and what your typical day looks like. And we will start with Andrew.
Oops. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Andrew Arevalo. I'm a second-year student here at Diego Mesa College. I'm also a peer navigator. And yeah, so for me, I'm currently majoring in sociology, and I'd like to transfer to SDSU as they have a master's program called Community-Based Block Counseling. I'm interested in this program as it focuses on giving back to lower income or underserved communities. And yeah, so I grew up here in National City in San Diego. And for me, my typical day here at Mesa is that I drive out to Mesa and I come to the Avanza Center. And I'm currently one of the peer navigators. So here we welcome students who come in, and if they need anything, we can come and help them. So after my shift at the Avanza Center, I go get lunch and then I go to class. And after class, I come back and work on homework and other stuff and just chill out and hang out with the other peer navigators. So yeah, that's my typical day and what I do here at Mesa.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. And now, Cesar, if you could introduce yourself and your background and your typical day.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cesar Avila. And I'm this is currently my my fourth semester at Mesa College. My first semester was the spring of 21. I'm currently a psych. I'm a psych major, and my desired career path is I wish to enter the field of clinical psych, which is like, counseling. I hope to transfer to SDSU, and this is I am a first generation college student. So this is like really big for me right now. And a typical day for me is I typically arrive 2 hours early to campus, and I like to use the meditative rooms that we have in our LRC. And I go to class and then come back, finish homework in the LRC, and then go home. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Cesar. And Amanda, if you could introduce yourself for us.
Hi, my name is Amanda. I am a psychology major. I'm also a peer navigator here at Mesa College. My desired career path is I want to become an occupational therapist. That's one of my biggest goals. I'm currently transferring to SDSU. I got accepted this month, luckily. From there, I wanted to transfer to UCSD to get my occupational degree there. They have an occupational therapy program. My day looks a lot like Andrew's. I show up to work. I do a few hours there. I go to class. I come back, hang out in between, study, have some monthly meetings with my students, and then I go back to school. And from there, I do a long commute with traffic back to home, but it's worth it. But yeah, that's how my day looks like. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you to the three of you. And so now we'd like to hear what brought you to Mesa College and how has the pandemic affected your educational experience so far? So let's start with Cesar this time.
So I've been taking Mesa classes since my sophomore year at in high school. So I was already familiar with Mesa. And during my senior year, I graduated a semester early and I had the option to take a full semester at Mesa. And while I was there, I kind of just saw, I had the original intent to apply to a 4-year. Fortunately, I got in, but I just saw Mesa as a lot more, it just worked for me at the time. So I kind of just ended up going with Mesa, and I don't regret it. I really appreciate all the resources we have. And the pandemic has affected my my education in the way that it made things a little bit more awkward. So last semester was my first semester on campus, and I realized that we have a multitude of resources. And during while we were all online, I found it hard to kind of like navigate where my resources are and what can help me at the time. But fortunately for me, I did have my peer navigators that were experienced, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Cesar. Amanda, if you'd like to share.
Yeah, so what brought me to Mesa College is my mom actually came here while she was a student. She just talked about how the atmosphere at Mesa is so welcoming, how you see people of all different walks of life coming. It was so that was a part of my plan since I was a really young girl. But then I had outreach ambassadors come to my school, help me with my registration. It just was such a welcoming atmosphere, and I really enjoyed Mesa. That the way that the pandemic affected me was I feel like it kind of made me I was a 2020 graduate, so my year was cut short. I feel like that break actually gave me more of a wanting for my education instead of like I have to do an education. I kind of started wanting to go back to school and proceeding my education. So that was I feel like the COVID made me want to pursue my education more. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And Andrew?
Yeah, so for me, what brought me to Mesa College was when I was in high school. So during my junior year, I actually ended up failing one of my classes. So I knew that community college was where I was going to go and it was going to be my option. But I actually didn't know much about like community college. All I knew that one of the colleges I wanted to go to was either City or Mesa, as City was closer to me. However, my older sister and my previous mentor actually went to Mesa College, and they later transferred and graduated from SDSU. My older sister just graduated from SDSU last semester, or last year, excuse me, which is really exciting. So yeah, I ended up choosing Mesa College from them. And that's when I learned that Mesa has like one of the highest transfer rates. So yeah, while applying to Mesa, I actually learned about the Promise program and summer cruise. And through summer cruise, I felt that I was welcome with a sense of community and friendship. I appreciate the program because I got to know people who are around my age, and having a mentor like lead along the way. Having a peer navigator made navigating college so much easier for me and less daunting, because especially during this time, this was during the pandemic or the peak and beginning. So it was really hard just getting to connect and get to know others. So yeah, the pandemic has made my educational journey easier and harder at the same time. I appreciate the format of online classes because it's easy to access them anywhere at any time, but at the same time, it's really difficult because you're one of the only couple students that have their cameras on and trying to create those connections. But yeah, now that we're back in person, I've been really enjoying it. And yeah, I just miss the physical classroom environment and just been enjoying connecting and interacting with others.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And to our last question for our panelists, how has the Promise program supported you during your educational journey? And what advice do you have for other Promise students? Let's start with Amanda.
This is my favorite question because the Promise program supported me so much through my educational journey. Since I was a 2020 graduate, that means that when I came to Mesa, it was all online. I feel like the Promise programs and all the events they gave, like our Promise reorientation, summer cruise, it kind of gave me a sense of community in a college setting since that I hadn't had in a long time since high school. And since it was still on lockdown, I felt like I kind of had somebody to turn to, which was my peer navigator. He helped me out through my whole first year. We had our monthly meetings. I could go to him when I had a question. He was very accessible. And through my peer navigator, actually through the Promise orientation, I actually got connected with one of the counselors, Promise counselors, who actually helped me throughout my whole entire journey at Mesa, not just my first, just not that one time, but actually throughout the whole, I made a connection. I also learned from my peer navigator that I could work as a peer navigator. So it gave me an outlet to job opportunities and stuff like that. And also my advice to Promise students is to take advantage of all the opportunities and resources that are available to you as a Mesa and a Promise student. There are so many out there, and us peer navigators want you to, and anybody at Mesa want you to have access to all the opportunities that we have, such as scholarships, the stand, the mobile markets, our counseling and everything. So take advantage of all those workshops and stuff that are available to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. Andrew, would you like to go next?
Yeah, so for me, how the Promise program has supported me is that through my educational journey in many ways, the two biggest things have been covering my tuition and books. So not having to worry about paying for classes and other expenses has just been really helpful for taking off that stress for me, but especially my parents. The 200 book grant has been really amazing as many of my classes require using an online textbook for like homework or work in the class. And with the Promise program, I also think that I would not be as involved or engaged in campus as I am now. So requirements such as like meeting with the counselor once per semester or attending a campus engagement event have like allowed me to build connections and meet others. So for example, I attended a virtual screening for a documentary called A is for Augustine. So it was a movie or documentary about like a Filipino father who wanted to go back to school so he could earn money for his children. And after the screening, I attended this Q&A session and got my question answered by the filmmaker. And it was just a really awesome experience. And that event and film, was one of the major things that sparked my passion for the Kapwa learning community. So I'm a part of the Kapwa learning community, and it has led me to learn more about my Asian Pacific Islander culture and identity. And I really appreciate the community as I've made many friends, and now we're all involved here at Mesa. So like I talked about before, I'm a peer navigator and I work with my friends or coworkers, Jay and Joey. And it's been an amazing experience being able to build connections, mentor students, work as a team. And my advice for Promise students is that to remember that life is not about the destination. About the destinations, about the journey. In high school, I remember that being so bummed out when I got rejected from the schools I want to get into, while so many other friends and classmates got accepted. But however, 2 years later, I'm now proud to be here at Mesa, whether you're going to community college or a UC, CSU, or whatever school you may be going to. Be proud of who you are and what you've accomplished. I think that higher education is a big step to take. So don't be afraid to reach out whenever you need help. And yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. And last but not least, Cesar.
I just want to say I could sit here for like hours just talking about how Promise has helped me through my educational journey. But similar to Amanda, I graduated a year after. And during that time, things were just like really like we didn't know what was next. And it's pretty scary like as a student, especially like, you know, your first years of like, you know, your next educational, journey. So it really helped having Promise navigators that really understood because, you know, they were students, they were in your steps and, you know, they still are. So it really like helps, especially when they understand like the campus a lot better than you, to point you in like, you know, the direction of like certain resources. You know, and that was the beginning. Promise still helps me today. A couple months ago, I actually reached out to Karla, and I believe she's still she's with us right now. I wasn't able to meet one of my campus my Promise requirements, and that was I was taking 11 units. I needed to take 12, which required me to write an appeal. I have not written an appeal before. What Karla did was she sent me a rubric, not a rubric, but a template in which I could copy, enter all my information and help out, as well as provided she offered to like look over it and to help, which is like, you know, that's amazing. And the advice I have to like other Promise students and just, you know, students at Mesa is to, you know, kind of like what Andrew was saying, there's so many resources around us, and you know, you're not really alone. You're not alone. There's other people around you, you know, going through the same thing. And just reach out, understand your resources you have, because I mean they're there for you. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cesar. I just want to give a huge shout out to the three of you, Cesar, Amanda, and Andrew. It is so wonderful to hear about your journey and how Promise has supported you and all the great things that you are working on. We're so proud of you and so grateful that you would share, you know, your experience and insight into how the Promise program has supported you. You and our 1,200 Promise students are the center of our program, and we're always wanting to, you know, improve our practices and ensure that we're meeting student needs and plugging you into whatever support it is that you're looking for. So big thank you to all of you, Cesar, Amanda, and Andrew. And I am just going to share one final slide here, if I may. Oops. All right. So thank you so much for having us on here today. I just wanted to share our contact information. So if anyone here is curious about how to get in touch with the Promise program, if you have questions about the program or would like to collaborate or anything like that, this is my contact information, as well as Karla Trutna, our Promise coordinator. We are on social media, Instagram and Twitter. We are taking applications for our upcoming cohort who will be joining us in the fall, in upcoming fall. The priority deadline is June 17th to apply. And we are still taking applications after June 17th, but it's best to get it submitted before then. And if you would like to visit us in person, we are in the Student Services building on the first floor. And that is our phone number and our program email as well. So I just want to say thank you so much for having us here today to showcase what the Promise program is all about. And I believe I'm going to turn it back over to Vicki.
Thank you so much, Donnaly. And thank you to the students. We love hearing student testimonials. The whole point of having this program is really to create a space for our students to connect while providing them with support in the classroom as well as outside of the classroom. And clearly we've been able to do that in hearing from the students. It's phenomenal, the experience our students are having. Now's a great time for us to open it up for any questions. I know we just have a few moments, but if there's any questions, we'd love to hear them. We've got our greatest resources, Donnaly here, as well as Karla and Jaime, and the three of them did a phenomenal job. So thank you to the three of you for facilitating our Promise, Everything Promise Community Forum. But I don't see any hands up for any questions. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Dr. Luster and say thank you so much for having us. We really do appreciate that we were invited to share Everything Promise.
So thank you so much to all of you, to our wonderful students. I could sit and listen to you all afternoon as well. I think we'll just cancel our day and hang out with y'all. That would be very cool. One of the things that I think about when I hear from our students is, you know, we've been in this time where we've all had this experience, right? Everyone in the world, but you know, at Mesa, we've had this experience of living through COVID together. And I'm always interested when I hear I graduated from high school in spring of 20 or spring of 21. And yet in those moments, you moved forward, right? You made the choice to go to college, to deal with disappointment, to move through that. And now you're connected in ways that's very difficult to tangibly sort of value, other than, you know, we've given you a fantastic start. So to Donnaly and Karla and Jaime, thank you for hanging with us as well. By the way, Jaime, you've probably already heard that our Pride Center is opening soon on campus. We're very excited about that as well. But I just want to say it really does take a village to do this work. And when we first started the Promise program, could we ever have imagined 1,200 students in the program? And so I just want to say thank you to Constance Carroll, our former chancellor. You know, with her retirement, we were able to raise over $1 million in monies to support our Promise students. And it's really important that we continue that work. So thank you so much for being here today, for doing the work. And thank you to our students for being brave enough to share with us today. And so with that, we have come to the end of this time. I wanted to highlight a bit of something that Dr. Hands talked about in her update, which was the R&D consulting work that we're doing. And I just wanted to mention, one of the beauties of that work is we are really trying to center the student voice in that. And one of the things we want students to know is that we are going to pay them for their labor in this. We're not going to ask students for free. And so we have set aside some of our HERF emergency funds that we got that are related to COVID relief, because we think it's really important that we return to campus with equity and that we think about the student experience. And I think about how much we just learned from the 3 students we heard from. So imagine a much broader group of students that we will bring together and think about. We're also going to provide remuneration for the leadership team. So if you're a faculty member or a classified professional, we're trying to work those things out. I know everyone is exhausted. I know sometimes it feels like someone's standing on your last nerve, but I'm hoping that you'll pull that foot off your last nerve. And if you're interested in going beyond the circles that we find ourselves in and trying to puzzle through those things that it's going to take for us as the leading college of equity and excellence to come back to campus in ways that are new for us, but honor the tradition of the incredible foundation that's under this college, please consider, or if you know someone you think would be great to be part of the leadership team, I think there'll be room for, you know, probably 6 or 7 faculty, several classified professionals. We'll have students on the main leadership group, but we're also going to bring groups of students together into focus groups and also make sure that they're paid for the time that they're there. So we don't need anybody working for free. And I think that's really incredibly important for all of us right now. So with that, the last thing I'll leave you with is for those of you who know Carl Luna, you probably would never imagine that he was recently on The Price is Right. And so I will ask you to look at your local social media, whether it's SDCCD or Mesa College. He's in his cap and gown. That's his costume on The Price is Right. And he gives a great shout out.
Let's make a deal.
Oh, let's make a deal. What did I say? Price is Right?
Yeah.
Sorry. It's Let's Make a Deal.
The
Sorry.
costume. Yeah.
Sorry, yes. See, his costume. Sorry about that. So he's on Let's Make a Deal. He didn't get zonked, but I don't think it turned out the way he hoped it would. But anyway, a great shout out to Mesa, a great shout out to his students at USD. And it's just fun to see our colleagues in roles that we never imagined them being in. So anyway, with that, we will say adieu and look forward to seeing you at our next campus forum. I hope that you get a chance to recharge. I hope you get a chance to walk in your favorite park, forest, whatever it might be. If you can't do that, I hope you can somehow woo-saw in your backyard. And I hope for all of you that when we see you back after spring break, that we'll have smiles on our faces and be able to see each other even more on our beautiful campus. So thank you to our Promise team and to our vice presidents for the updates today, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.